Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Let us discuss Monday Night Raw from January the 17th, 2021. No, 2022. I gotta get used to saying 22. All right, before we get into SmackDown, there's a little bit of news and notes. Just a tiny bit. Well, apparently the dirt sheets were correct, and that the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, premium live event, I'm so sorry, will actually be taking place from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. So the Elimination Chamber will be in Saudi Arabia. And this, of course, is supposed to be a source of outrage. Look, here's my thing. They have been doing the Saudi Arabia shows for, 4 years now? If you are still pretending to be outraged about this stuff, you are just, it's a choice at this point. It's one thing to be upset about, the first time because it was very weird and it did come across as very propaganda-ish the first time. But this is like the 8th event. They're not going to turn down $50 million, and nobody would. Because blue check marks on Twitter and a bunch of egg accounts think that they shouldn't do it because they have these big hang-ups about whatever is going on in Saudi Arabia. Now, I think that personally it is just a smoke screen. It's all just BS. But we are having an Elimination Chamber. I was under the impression that we would not be having an Elimination Chamber this year. That makes WrestleMania, a little bit more easier to deal with because now we know if you don't win the Rumble, you're more than likely going to win the Chamber, but, and that's fine. Then we have the issue of, is there going to be a women's Elimination Chamber? Because there's this idea that maybe the Saudis are, already not that into women's matches. Are they going to want to be okay with having violent women's matches? The question I would see is, what's really the difference? It's a cage match. I really don't see too much of a difference between a singles match and a 6-woman elimination match. I don't really see a difference. They constantly make a big deal about this stuff, and it seems to go off without a hitch. And it seems like, look, here's the thing, the positive thing, if there is a positive thing about WWE working with the government, is that, if the Crown Prince says, hey, women are wrestling on this show because, hey, they already been wrestling on this show, what can anybody else do? So what? Some other guy is going to be upset. It's like the guys who are funding the promotion of the show, the guys who own the building, they're the same guy, and the guy who's paying for this whole ordeal, because he's the same guy, is going to be okay with it. So then it is what it is. Now, if he says, likewise, if he says it's not okay, then guess what? They have a big episode of either Raw or SmackDown where they can have an Elimination Chamber match. Or they could just have a pop-up pay-per-view or something like that. Premium live event. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get it correct. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be able to have one. I will say that, though. If they can't, I will assume that they would probably bring the Chamber or a version of the Chamber to a Raw or a SmackDown. Of course, then you have to go through the whole USA and Fox thing, where if they do it on USA, then they got to do it on Fox. I don't know about that. So I'm guessing it's probably both going to take place in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and that a lot of people are just trying to continue with the women are not allowed, women can't do anything in Saudi Arabia stuff. I just still stunned that so many people are all of a sudden the Secretary of State and know everything about Saudi Arabia when they still don't know anything about Saudi Arabia. I don't know. Personally, I ain't thrilled about governments, period. So I'm definitely not thrilled about the government of Saudi Arabia. But there's wrestling fans over there. So if you're new to this channel and you want to know how I feel about it, that's how I feel. It's a crowd just like every other crowd. I don't like the idea that they're doing any type of work with the government, but it is what it is. That's how you do work in Saudi Arabia. The king owns all the land, owns all the property. As far as I know, anyway, he owns all the property. And if the crown prince is in control of all the property, he calls the shots. I don't have to like it. I don't live in Saudi Arabia, so. All right, so the Saudis are getting the Elimination Chamber. That sounds pretty cool to me. Saudi Arabia is still a pretty exotic area, and they're still constantly doing new things over there. They did that BS Royal Rumble. I really wish they hadn't done that. But now they're going to get a legit Elimination Chamber. So they're really kind of taking all the gimmicks over there. I'm telling you, one day they're probably somebody's going to drop a big fat check to have WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia. It will happen. All right. I forgot to before I really go into that. I heard that they're going to be changing the name of the Elimination Chamber to the WrestleMania Chamber for the Jeddah show. I'm guessing it's Jeddah. My thoughts on that is slapping WrestleMania on everything is not cool, because you already got that BS WrestleMania Backlash. What you gonna have? WrestleMania Raw, WrestleMania SmackDown, WrestleMania Elimination, WrestleMania Chamber. I get that was probably a thing where they decided to. Now I haven't seen it so far. When WWE announced the Elimination Chamber, they called it Elimination Chamber. They didn't call it the WrestleMania Chamber. Now, if they don't want them using the word elimination in Saudi Arabia, they could just call it the Chamber. They don't have to call it the WrestleMania Chamber. Because what I fear is that Peacock will say, oh, hey, we like WrestleMania Chamber. Let's just go with that. We just call it WrestleMania Chamber all the time. It's like, I don't like that. Call it something else. Literally call it something else. Don't call it WrestleMania anything. We already diluted the WrestleMania brand too much by the 2-night WrestleMania. Then we diluted it a little bit more with the WrestleMania Backlash thing. We don't need to have WrestleMania Chamber. Even though I don't think it sounds that bad. I can get used to saying WrestleMania Chamber. But I don't. I think WrestleMania as a brand should be kept pretty pure. And it should not be stretching too far in either direction. And I definitely think we need to bring back numbers. We definitely need to bring back the numbers for WrestleMania. I don't see what's the point of just having WrestleMania and not having numbers. All right, can we finally get to this show now? Or is there more news and notes? All right, so that's all I saw so far. We'll deal with the rest of it if it pops up. Okay, let's talk about Raw. Now, Raw as a show there were some fresh matchups in the show. There are some interesting storylines and absolutely grand video package. Otherwise, I think there were also parts of the show that was kind of garbage. So it was kind of like half burnt toast. Like you scrape some of the ash off of it. It's alright. But so some of it's like perfectly toasted brown. It's good stuff. Then the other parts is like burnt beyond recognition. You can't eat it. You can scrape it as much as you can, but it's gonna taste like ass. So let's get into Raw. So Becky Lynch is out here, and she's talking about Doudrop, and she's talking about how she makes stars out of everybody. She made a star out of Doudrop. She got Doudrop this title match. The fans didn't help Doudrop, and Doudrop didn't earn it. It was all because of Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch got this shot for her. Said that she's never going to be the champion while Becky Lynch is at the top of the industry. She makes people better and then beats them. I actually like that. Doudrop said that if your plan was to get an easier opponent, you made a mistake. Which, she should have. Bianca Belair sashayed out there. She was smiling and playing with her hair. I absolutely hate that. People don't take losses seriously. Wins or losses don't matter. Bianca says that Becky Lynch is so scared that she helped Doudrop, but she's just buying time because she's entering the Rumble and she's going to win it. Liv Morgan came out there and said some words. The less said about Liv Morgan, the best. Tag team match: Doudrop and Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair and Liv Morgan. Doudrop tried to pin Liv Morgan while she was not legal. This is WWE, baby. the ref made her tag in, made Liv Morgan take another finish, and then got pinned. Okie dokie. Then Doudrop hit the bonsai drop on Becky Lynch after the match, and I kind of like the Doudrop push here. I really hate that WWE thinks that they could just take the water off the boil and then keep putting it back on, like that kind of booking strategy where, oh yeah, Doudrop never wins anything. Now all of a sudden she's unstoppable. Like that's so weird. That is so weird. I don't understand why we just can't build momentum and continue to build momentum. I don't know. I guess, I know that it's I made the mistake of listening to Bruce Pritchard's podcast. And he was talking about Chris Masters, and he was talking about, he said again, the one thing that I think I brought it up before, that he likes seeing how people lose. It's easy for anybody to put together a highlight reel where they could do all their best and most awesome moves, but he wants to see how people, put other people over, how they sell and all that kind of stuff. So maybe that's the reason why, they do things like have Doudrop get beat by Bianca Belair 2-3 weeks in a row, and then she gets her push. I don't know. I can't explain it. But it seems counterintuitive to put your heels in a hole and then make them dig themselves out of it, because it seems weird. And then it's a heel program, You got Becky Lynch healing on Doudrop, but the Doudrop is a heel. So who are they supposed to cheer? There's nobody for them to cheer in this situation. So you're either going to get met with somebody, they're going to force Becky Lynch to be the babyface because the fans already like her. They don't really know Doudrop. Or you're going to be in a situation where the crowd is just not going to care because I don't like Becky, I don't like Doudrop. So what's the issue? WWE has this thing where they're kind of booking the heels so strong that the baby faces are lagging so far behind. There's almost no faith in them, and that's a difficult thing to do. You have to really be trying hard to screw up every single baby face that you have. That takes a team effort. Either way, let's move on. Edge is backstage hanging out with the guys. He's he gives Reggie a little bit of a pep talk because Reggie's about to wrestle Amaz. He dapped up with Damien Priest. Damien Priest wants some advice on Rumble wins. Edge says that he kind of likes the Damien side of Damien Priest. Beth Phoenix gets a note from some guy, and this note is that Maurice just wants to have a little bit of a parlay. She wants to have a conversation. So now we can go in this thing 3 different ways because the Reggie thing had its own story. Edge and Beth Phoenix, of course, have their own story. So, you also have Kevin Owens because Kevin Owens showed up with Damien Priest, announced that they were going to have a match, and he looks forward to them having a good, clean, technical wrestling match, which pissed off Damien Priest because he's like, nah, you're up to no good. You're totally up to no good. So let's talk about Reggie and Amaz first because this is pretty simple. Reggie didn't believe in himself. Dana Brooke did. She talked him up. The 24/7 gang was hanging out, eating popcorn. They was just all hanging out behind a box or something like that, a crate. R-Truth had the line of the night where he said Dana Brooke must not like Reggie. She just set him up to get got. Of course, Reginald loses to Amaz. There's no reason to even go too deeply into that. Kevin Owens and Damien Priest went out there. They had a pretty good match, but Kevin Owens had the Kevin Owens show, which features Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, of course, is the new best friend of Kevin Owens. Bubba Ray Owens. Bubba Ray Owens, Bam Bam Owens, King Kong Owens, One Man Owens, says that he admires Seth Rollins' shirts, well, his suits rather, and his courage, and that he set the table that Roman is the head of. Seth Rollins, of course, says that Roman is scared of him, and he's taking the low road by insulting his family, and that the Usos couldn't get the job done. And that when he wins, he's turning that strap back red, and bringing that Universal belt back on to Monday Night Raw so he can hang out with Kevin Owens. That's the plan. The plan is to win the title and bring it back and make the belt red, which, you might as well set it on fire at that point, dog. Kevin Owens announced his entry into the Royal Rumble. Said that the main event of WrestleMania is going to be him versus Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins didn't look thrilled about that. And then Damien Priest came out there and said that nobody believes Seth Rollins would beat Roman Reigns, and that Kevin Owens is a liar, and that he's going to give him one piece of advice, and that's not to wake up the Damien. Also, that their match is right now. So they have a match. It was a pretty good match. Kevin Owens actually tricks Damien Priest by pretending that he has a bad knee. Damien Priest kind of lets his guard down. He gets kick stunnered at that. And Damien Priest suffers his first pinfall loss since he's been on the main roster. I'm not going to lie to you, this didn't bother me. It only bothered me that he lost, and this would have been a great finish for Kevin Owens to steal the title. If they'd have done this with Kevin Owens winning the belt and kind of jobbing Damien Priest out in this way, this would have been great, right? If they would have had some momentum for Kevin Owens, this would have been great. If Kevin Owens hadn't spent so much time losing to Lashley and getting beat up by Brock and getting beat up by Seth and getting beat up by Big E and getting beat up by everybody, this would have been great. But what this was, hey, Kevin Owens has no heat. Nobody really cares about him. How do we get instant heat? Well, we just have him beat Damien Priest. Nobody's going to complain that he's the first guy to beat Damien Priest because everybody likes him for the most part. But at the same time, Damien Priest is a champion and he shouldn't be losing. That's one pet peeve of mine, is that WWE's concept that wins and losses don't matter. Look, I can almost agree with it to a certain point. Wins and losses can't matter because they're all basically just storyline elements. But at the same time, if you want people to believe that these guys are badasses, which they do, as the video package between Brock and Lesnar, between Brock and Bob that they put together, the point was to make these two dudes look like they're unstoppable badasses. That means wins and losses have to matter. That means they should have to matter throughout the top of the card if that's what you're going to do. Sure, we can always say that sometimes wins and losses don't matter because you can gain more from a loss than you can from a win. I get that. But when people are trying to get involved in the story, people don't typically get behind losers unless they're lovable losers. Like Team Rocket, or something like that. Somebody who, eventually them losing becomes a running gag. But anybody who's supposed to have any momentum or be a star or anything, you have to at some point give them a bit of a push. Damien Priest has lost a lot of matches since this whole devil angel crap that they started doing. Most of them have been by disqualification. This is his first pinfall loss. Again, not that big of a deal. I really would have preferred it if Kevin Owens won the title here and then Damien Priest was in the chase position while still being in rage mode. And I think that would have added a lot more heat to this feud rather than, okay, now Damien Priest has to defend his title against Kevin Owens after Kevin Owens had already tricked him. So it's like the trick can't work again. To me, if you're going to have a great finish like this, and I think this truly was a really good finish, then you need to use that to switch the belt rather than just using it in a match that apparently nobody will remember in a couple of weeks, as Damien Priest probably is going to rip, Bubba Ray Owens' head off and kick it into the crowd. Then, we kind of want this thing to matter, It of course reminded me of the finish to the Batista-Shawn Michaels match. I don't know if you guys remember that. They had a really good match at Backlash because Batista was pissed at Shawn taking out Ric Flair. That whole stretch of Batista-Shawn Michaels matches that led to the Batista heel turn was very good. Anyway, Shawn pretended to have a busted up knee. Batista took it easy on him because Shawn was a babyface at the time. And Shawn tricked him, super kicked him, and pinned him. And Batista was pissed about this. was hot. And this is also one of the catalysts for Chris Jericho turning heel too, you know. So they worked that angle, and look at how much they got out of it. They got a full summertime feud out of that thing. Shawn got to feud with Batista and Chris Jericho out of that segment. Here, you got Damien Priest getting his first loss. But what more are we going to get out of that? You know? And then, of course, it doesn't help that, you know, Kevin Owens' whole character is that he's a liar now. So now it's like, why did anybody even believe it? You know? Very, very strange stuff. But Kevin Owens and Damien Priest as a feud, very good. Ring of Honor guys wrestling each other. That's fine. That's good. That's good stuff. I don't mind that. Yeah, let's do that. Go to work. All right, so now we get to talk about Maurice and Beth Phoenix, because Beth Phoenix takes Maurice up on her challenge. Edge doesn't trust Maurice, so he goes along for the ride. But Maurice just wants to talk, and I was today years old, actually, when I found out that Maurice is actually Canadian. I thought she was from literal France. She's just Canadian. How utterly, utterly disappointing. How frighteningly boring that she's not actually French. I mean, from France, French, not French Canadian. I don't know. I guess kind of see French Canadian as a lower form of French. It's not quite Creole, which is like ghetto French, but it's like mid-tier French. It ain't like baguette French, like Napoleon French. It's just doesn't feel French enough. And I thought Maurice was like riding on the cobblestone streets of Paris or something like that with like a baguette and like one of those crazy hats. And like her dad has like this mustache or something like that. That's kind of how I envisioned it, even though I never watched that stupid show. But now I just think that they're just kind of greasy Canadians. And it is what it is. It can't all be stars, but at least look at her. She don't look Canadian, that's for sure. My God. Anyway, she meets Beth Phoenix out there, and her and Beth Phoenix have a bit of a conversation. Well, Maurice wants the match canceled. She wants the mixed match canceled. Nobody wants to have this match. I don't want to have it. You don't want to have it. The fans don't want it. Beth Phoenix is listening, entertaining this crap. Maurice owns the crowd for a little bit. She does a little bit of the Miz's stuff. And she basically just riles the people up a little bit. Then she talks about how her and Beth Phoenix, they should be friends. They built the division up together. They were in the trenches together, fighting for the women and the girls and all this stuff. And they got daughters, and they should have play dates, and they should be best friends. And Beth Phoenix is like, no. You've been taking these bad acting classes with the Miz. No. So I'm not missing this opportunity to tag with my husband or to face plant your ass in this ring. So Beth Phoenix starts getting closer to the ring. Mistake. Miz jumps out of the crowd to try to attack Edge. That didn't work. But it was all just a distraction as Beth Phoenix turns around and she gets blasted in the back of the head with the loaded purse. We're only about 4 weeks too late for it, but we finally got the loaded purse. Break in the purse, knock Beth Phoenix clean the fuck out. I like it. I like that angle. That's a great angle right there. See, my thing was, why not do the loaded purse so that Miz beat Edge? And that way, now they're prepared for it. It's a similar thing with the Kevin Owens and Damien Priest thing. It's like, yeah, it's a good angle, but you could have gotten more out of it if you used it at a different time, and it costs the babyface more. If Kevin Owens had faked an injury and it jobbed Damien Priest not out of his first loss, but jobbed him out of the title, that's something you can see Damien Priest getting really fucking bitter about, getting really mad about, because part of it was the referee buying into it. Even if Damien Priest didn't buy into it, the referee did. In this situation, if you'd had Maurice hit Edge with the brick and knock him out, Then Edge lost to The Miz. And The Miz could talk about how he beat Edge. And how Edge is beneath him. And that he has surpassed Edge. All the stuff that he was saying before they had the match. He could be going on a bigger tirade about it. And now Edge is really pissed. He's furious. And now we have more of a reason to bring Beth Phoenix in. Because Maurice cost Edge the match. Embarrassed him. He lost to The Miz. You know. That's really what we should be doing. If they'd have did the loaded purse at day one, that would have been so much better in terms of storytelling. But this is an instance of them overprotecting people. Which, again, every time I say this, when they try to overprotect folks, it only makes up everybody look bad. It'd have been okay for Edge to lose to The Miz. It's not, unless Edge is about to be in a title match or something at WrestleMania. He lost to The Miz, so what? If he's not going to be in the main event of the show, so what? You know, if he's going to be sixth match on day 2 or something like that, then so what? He lost to The Miz. You know? It does great wonders for The Miz. It does great for the angle. And it does great for storylines going forward. The Miz could always say that he beat Edge one-on-one. And if you needed to run it back to do a rematch, that's fine too. But my God, bro. That was a missed opportunity. It was a swing and a miss. What? Okay, so now Alpha Academy. Alpha Academy is they had a graduation ceremony, and the first thing I said was, "Who the hell is graduating?" I didn't understand that it was Otis. Okay, so I was like, all right, Otis is graduating from what to what? I don't know. Chad Gable got an extensive promo here where he got to talk about education and rub his education and skills and all this kind of stuff into the face of the crowd. And I was like, my man is doing good character work here. This is what we've been trying to get out of Chad Gable for like 4 or 5 years. Like, we know that he was kind of a dorky, Kurt Angle-ish guy, even when he was back in NXT. But he didn't have this. Like, what he got now is something that works. It's like a cross between Dean Douglas and Kurt Angle. You know, it works. Hopefully they don't screw this up. So, obviously, this is not going to last too long. Otis is the valedictorian. He says that Chad helped him reach his full potential, and he promised nothing but pure carnage for anybody who interferes with Alpha Academy and their goals in their championship reign. And then out comes Riddle. Of course, he's in a costume. He's wearing a cap and gown. The cap and gown is 3 fucking different colors. It's literally like green and blue. It's like, what is going on here? This damn thing is in 3 or 4 different colors. They crack some jokes about each other. Chad Gable said that Tulsa cannot afford to lose not one single more brain cell listening to Riddle, and said that Riddle couldn't define rematch. Riddle defined rematch as lighting a match twice. And then I was just like, all right, now we're going too far. It's one thing for him to be like stupid, but you can't be Homer Simpson, right? Okay, Riddle is kind of slow. He's very naive. All right. But let's not get to the point where Riddle is basically, finger up the nose, eating his own boogers, stupid. Right? We don't want the guy to believe like he's a DD student. We don't want to go that far. We don't want to act like the guy should be wearing diapers and sleeping in a padded room. All right, come on. He can't be that stupid. All right. So, Chad Gable said, okay, we'll give you a rematch, but you have to prove yourself in an academic challenge. Now, as silly as this sounds like, and I absolutely can't wait for it because it's silly as shit. The response from Otis's facial expression, when Chad Gable said academic challenge, I legit started laughing my ass off, dog. Like, it was legit funny. Like, his whole reaction was like, oh shit. What is it, a spelling bee? Oh god, this show is so fucking silly and stupid, man. Alright, so Otis was hilarious. Obviously, Chad Gable got caught with an RKO. Otis got knocked out of the ring. He tumbled over like Humpty Dumpty. The rated RKO Wednesday evening. Randy Orton actually put on the cap and the gown, and he's in the ring posing with Riddle, and he's buying in, man. Randy is having way too much fun. That's how you know this thing ain't gonna last very long. Randy Orton's not allowed to have fun. You know, this whole thing is lasting way too long because he's out there having a blast, and I don't, he's having. But they accepted the academic challenge. I was like, all right, I wonder how this is going to turn out. It's going to be like Jeopardy or something like that. It ought to be fun. And it also, they sold it immediately that Otis is not very smart. So he's a muscle guy. He's not a brains guy. All right, so before we go any further, let's talk about Seth Rollins. I'm going to go out of order this time because I forgot to talk about Seth Rollins before. After his promo with Kevin Owens, Bubba Ray Owens, Bam Bam Owens, One Man Owens, Kevin Owens, the Ugandan giant. We had the match Bobby Lashley versus Seth Rollins. Before that, we had the beautiful, wonderful, classic video package Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley, and the parallels of the careers. That video package made me so excited for that match. They need to play that entire package again right before the match. Yes, it was edited very well, and it was edited in a way to make Brock's accomplishments look more look grander and bigger. Mainly because Bobby Lashley had only done stuff during his second run. His first run, he was kind of an almost there. You know, he did shave Vince McMahon's head. That was the biggest thing he had ever done during that run. And I guess they didn't talk about that to try to avoid the whole Donald Trump thing. But winning the ECW title, I mean, it was a defunct, means nothing ECW belt, so it didn't really matter. He was U.S. champion around that time too, but it was short-lived. So he was basically never really got off the ground. He was the kind of guy who got to the finals of the King of the Ring and lost to the eventual winner, King Booker. And he wrestled John Cena for the title once, lost, and was pretty much gone from the company not too long after that. So they kind of told the story of them kind of being equals who came into the company and dominated. They dominated the amateur ranks. Then they dominated the WWE. Then they went away to do mixed martial arts, and they came back to dominate again. And that's a good parallel, and it's mostly true. But Bob, man, you look at Bob's history, he had especially that comeback with that whole Bobby's sisters and the whole Lana thing. Oh, what brutal stuff. Brutal stuff. That's stuff that Brock didn't have to deal with. And I'm glad they kind of avoided all that shit. And just talked about how Bob is a comparable athlete to Brock. So if you thought Brock was like, the baddest motherfucker in the world, Bob is just as good. He didn't reach the same heights in terms of winning a heavyweight title in MMA, but he had a very good record. I think Bellator is probably a distant second when it comes to MMA promotions. It is still second, right? It's not like something stupid like Triller Fight Club or something like that didn't pass it. So he did he did good for himself. They didn't mention that both of them won championships outside of WWE. That Bob was, of course, the Impact Wrestling World Champion, and that Brock Lesnar won the IWGP World Title. But, still very cool. I don't see why they wouldn't do that. They're already working with Impact. They can get that information. And what New Japan is going to be upset that they showed a picture of Brock Lesnar and Antonio Inoki on television? Well, they might. Knowing how they copyright strike everybody, they might. But I love that video package. It's one of the greatest video packages, especially of the last decade. It is very good. We got the match, Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley. Match was pretty good. I was wondering, I figured it was going to be a disqualification because I'm like, both of these guys are wrestling for the title. It literally is nothing to be gained in this match. And then we get, okay, everybody involved in this is a heel. Everybody. There's 12 people running around. Nobody's a babyface. You have to ask the question, what is going on here? Why are we look, it's a heel program. All right, whatever. We just stuck with this. Anyway, the Hurt Business attacked Bob. They tried to beat him up. I don't know why they call him the Hurt Business. Only two of them. But Cedric and Shelton attacked Bob. He beat them both up, speared one of them through the barricade, ran the other one into the ring post. The Usos magically appear on SmackDown on Raw because they can do whatever they want. And they super kicked Seth Rollins, basically shutting him up for what he said earlier about them not being able to get the job done. Oh, they got it done. You got shit, So Seth Rollins is not going to be working Raw and SmackDown, which is going to overexpose him. It's a bad idea. If he's going to be wrestling wrestling for the SmackDown title, just have him talk about it on Raw. But he doesn't have any matches. All right, we don't need you to overexpose Seth Rollins, and that's what they're kind of doing here by having him on both shows. This is why you can't have one fucking brand because you got there's still so many people who are not doing anything, and you're using Seth Rollins so much. You eventually hit the law of diminishing returns, and I think that's the issue that we hit with Seth and Charlotte. To a degree, Asuka was almost there, Bayley was almost there, Sasha was there, especially during the pandemic when it was just like the same 5 or 6 people again and again and again. You definitely hit the law of diminishing returns. You're eventually going to hit that line. It stops being novel. It stops being interesting. It starts getting fucking annoying. People stop seeing him as, oh, he a big star. That's why he gets so much time too. God damn, shut the fuck up. Your promo segment's 25 minutes and you get a 10, 15-minute match. People get tired of that shit real fast. So I'm concerned because one of the bigger problems that they had with Seth is when they give him a push, they overpush him, and then they overexpose him, and then people turn on him again. So you got people naturally kind of starting to kind of swing over to the Seth Rollins side because they're kind of tired of Roman. Even though Roman's not overexposed, it's just he's been a champion for a long time, and people want anybody to be able to knock him off his perch. And Seth Rollins has been very entertaining. But the more that you expose him, the more he does the goofy laughing and the goofy dancing and the goofy suits, and it's going to be on both shows, the more people are going to be like, look, I like Seth, but fuck. I like peanut butter too, but you can't, I don't want it for every meal. I don't want it 3 or 4 times a day. Like, come on. It's like seeing this motherfucker once a week is enough. See him 2-3 times a week. Enough of that. So I think they're running the risk of overexposing him, but at least what they did with him makes sense, at least in terms of the Usos attacking him, which is what they should have done. Instead of him having a match, they should have just had the Usos attack him in the parking lot or something like that, so he doesn't get to be on the show. Bob, same thing. Why not just have the Hurt Business attack him in the back? There's not going to be that match because they both got attacked. Maybe they had to get carried out of the building and all that kind of stuff. Who knows? There's ways we can do this to make sense. But what they chose to do was give it some time, so they can work, and then throw the good old DQ at you. Look, I'm okay with the DQ. I'm not okay with the overexposing, though. I don't need that. All right, so let's go back in order. Let's see, Nikki Ash was out there. Oh my goodness. Oh, this Nikki Ash thing really got me flummoxed, dog. Maybe y'all can help me out. So did Nikki get taller and more muscular since the summer when she wrestled Charlotte? Because it doesn't seem like that happened right now. What took place then? Charlotte is bigger, stronger than Nikki Ash. The moment they stood face to face, Charlotte just kicked her in the face, threw her around the ring like a goddamn puppy, and just absolutely obliterated her. Now we got Nikki is fucking bulletproof and she's knocking down Rhea pretty much easily. Now I know, it's distractions, but that's frustrating, because it's like there's no consistency. Why is Rhea Ripley somehow the big, toothless tiger who can't fuck up Nikki Ash? It's like, I don't get it. And she's not mad enough over Nikki sucker punching her. And she did it more than once. This is the thing with the what I call curtain call. I think I talk about this when it comes to AEW, though I never use these terms. Curtain call is your part of the show is over, so you take a bow and then you go away. I'm sorry. At no point should Rhea Ripley be getting sucker punched by Nikki Ash and then we don't see them again for the rest of the night. We definitely should be seeing Rhea stomp through the women's locker room like, where is she? And then Nikki kind of runs to the car wearing her goofy little costume and all that kind of stuff. That's how that's how it would have been in the Attitude Era. You do a little spot here and then you carry it through the show. You may have a bunch of those, A stories, B stories, C stories, D story, or whatever. And I get that they may want to save some stuff, but what are you saving, really? They're probably just going to do something similar again next week. You take this story. Look, I could have been okay with it. Another sucker punch. If it would have got to the point where Rhea Ripley was like, all right, fuck this. I am going to rip Nikki's spine out of her body and throw it into the trees as soon as I get my hands on her. And then Nikki just has to run away. And then the next time it could have been Nikki doesn't, she's not going to show up or whatever the case may be. Here is what they actually did do. They had Nikki Ash cut a promo. Said that it feels good to stand on her own. It feels really good to stay on my own. Then that Rhea Ripley broke up the team. She's the villain in this. And that she's the closest thing Tulsa will ever have to a superhero. And sometimes superheroes do things that we don't like. She came out there for the match. They had the bat symbol for Nikki Ash, which I actually thought was pretty cool. They had the little light, the little searchlight. They had Nikki Ash, and I like that. I hate that they did that now that she's a heel, but it was pretty nice. Rhea Ripley cuts this promo where she's talking about she never intended to end their friendship. They still could have supported one another in their solo endeavors. And I'm like, who the fuck is this talking? Like, what kind of nightmare is this? They do not this is when the dirt sheets actually were 100% correct when I peeked this at this on Twitter. They don't understand Rhea Ripley's character. Rhea Ripley's a big badass. Why do she give a fuck about Nikki Ash who sucker punched her? What is up with are you telling me that in a children's show it's okay to sucker punch somebody and you don't get mad about it? You don't get mad at it? I know we don't even go through this on like Sesame Street or Cocomelon or anything like that. Now is a perfect time to teach kids, if you get sucker punched by your best friend, you fuck him up. You tear his fucking arms off and you beat him with it. Keep your fucking hands to yourself. That would have been cool. Rhea Ripley is now she's fucking anti-cool. She looks like the gigantic goth badass. But as soon as she opens her mouth, it's all, we're supposed to be friends. I thought we were friends. It's like, what the fuck? Why the fuck you shouldn't even wanted her as a friend in the first place? This is stupid. This is dumb. Then they had Carmella and Zelena Vega come out there. Carmella and Zelena Vega are bragging about how they were right about Nikki. She was the weak link. And they pushed Nikki to this point. And now Rhea is now nothing more than a low-class loser without a security blanket. And that she doesn't have the guts and the stones to be a champion on her own. Which, of course, makes no sense because she's already been women's champion. So I guess they retconned that she won the fucking title at WrestleMania already. And why is Carmella and Zelena out there to rub salt in the wound instead of just sitting there and watching what they're doing fall apart? I thought maybe Nikki would join them, and that would be kind of like the thing where Nikki would join. But I was like, no, because they're shit talking her too. So I'm sitting here like, well, that's a heel program too. Zelena and Carmela are talking shit about Nikki. Nikki's a heel too. Now, the only good thing about this whole thing, one thing that I will say, I actually find it to be very interesting, is that Nikki is a psycho and is delusional as fuck. And I love it. I love it. The way Nikki is performing this character now, where she's the delusional superhero, she still thinks she's almost a superhero. But now she's doing things in a more negative way. And she still has that little bit of craziness to her. Like when she starts talking about Rhea is the one who broke up the team. She said it with such conviction that it almost like she said it in her real voice. Like sometimes it feels like Nikki has two different voices, where she has the superhero, yes, Nikki H, and then you have crazy sort of manic Nikki. And she kind of said that, when Rhea was the one who broke up the team, she kind of said it in almost what felt like her real voice. So I did like that. I thought that was good. Nikki's performance has been good. The booking of it makes no sense. She's smaller. Her getting some heat on Rhea by hitting her. Okay, fine. But why is she hitting her with her bare hands? Why not she pull something out of her tights and hit her with it? I don't see why what's wrong with that. That shouldn't be a problem. It's just not doing things effectively. Not effective. All right, who cares about the 8-man tag, the Mysterios, and all these guys throwing each other over the top rope? Nobody cares about that. All right, so let's talk about now, and plus they didn't go anywhere. Let's talk about Austin Theory and Vince McMahon. Because Finn Balor is back. He's back from vacation or wherever he was. And Austin Theory thanks Vince for this opportunity to fight Finn Balor again. Says that, well, even though I lost to him last time I kicked his ass, so I guess that was a half win. Then Vince said there is no such thing as a half win. There's no half victories. Which is, of course, true. Either you won or you lost. Then he says that if Austin Theory didn't win, he was going to beat up Austin Theory. And I laughed at that. I thought that was fucking hilarious. That would have been great on its own. But then we went to the next level. He says he's going to have Austin Theory brought to his office, where he's going to get an equalizer, and he's going to break all the small bones in Austin Theory's body. He's going to need nothing but blood and gut and pus. Then he's going to take his own selfie and send it to his mom. And I was like, where the fuck did this come from? Where did this come from? Where are we going with this? Like, all right. I laugh my ass off, man, because it's absolutely psychotic. Right? I laugh my ass off. It's fucking hilarious. It's entertaining as shit. But where is it going? The ultimate goal is for Vince to motivate Austin Theory. Austin Theory has a really good match with Finn Balor. Austin Theory wins. Okay, cool. Now, I did see a lot of people grumbling about Finn Balor losing. I understand. Yes, it probably would have made more narrative sense for Austin Theory to lose again and for Vince to mete out some type of punishment. But I think what we're seeing is Austin Theory is becoming more, I guess, violent. Even after he won the match, he took the selfie and then he clobbered Finn Balor a little bit more. Okay. I don't like that it was a clean win. WWE needs to get better at heels actually cheating to win matches. The only one who's doing it right now is Becky Lynch. Just about everybody else, and Roman cheats occasionally, which is why he's got so much heat. But everybody else, Charlotte, just beats people clean, like all the time. Like we don't, that's not needed. You can cheat, pull the tights. The point of this is to create desperation in Austin Theory to motivate him to do whatever he needs to do to win. This is where you start pushing him to being a more and more, underhanded guy. Now he's eye gouging, he's eye poking, he's fish hooking, back raking. He's putting his feet on the ropes. He's pulling the tights, whatever. He doesn't want Vince McMahon to beat his ass. So he's going to do whatever it takes. Instead, he kind of just wins clean. I'm just kind of like, huh? Oh, well, all right then. This thing with Finn Balor can't possibly be over. Because now they're 1-1, right? So it can be over. Oh, man. Look, Finn is my guy. He's the one dude that I feel like WWE is really dropping the ball on. Like all these other dudes who end up walking away and quitting and shit, I don't really feel too bad about them. I mean, it is what it is. But Finn Balor was almost can't miss. The only problem you had with him was that he's undersized. And you could have easily gotten over that by leaning into his personas and his personality. And, you could have easily have gotten around that. He's about the same size. Maybe he's skinnier than Daniel Bryan. But he's around the same size and around the same age. We definitely could have worked with Finn Balor. But they didn't even want to try. And that's the one disappointing thing about this. I'm glad he's still around. The company clearly still values him. He hasn't been released. He's still involved. They didn't drop his storyline just because he went away for like 2 weeks. So, but he's not in a good place right now. He is not in a good place. He's in veteran place. He's getting up there with Cesaro and Bobby Roode. His job is going to be to put other people over. And that's not really what I want to see from Finn Balor. I really don't want to see him be in position of, because he doesn't have enough accolades, if we're being honest. He's been NXT champion a bunch of times. But on the main roster where people could actually see it, he's been Intercontinental champion, twice? And those were quick reigns, short reigns that he didn't really do anything with. He's never won the U.S. belt. He's only won that Universal title once. He's never been able to get back to that position. How can he really be an effective veteran if he doesn't have any fucking accolades? It's cool to have a Cesaro on the roster who can have great matches and do the job. But usually those people have to have some type of accolades. Now, back in the day, you had your Greg the Hammer Valentine or your Tito Santana. The guy was he's Intercontinental champion. You can always say that. But in today's world, you kind of need a little bit more. A little bit more. I don't know if he should be world champion or something like that. There's too many world champions doing the job out here. But, people have not been conditioned to see Finn Balor as being the guy or a top guy. He's just kind of been a middling guy. And you really don't get that much out of beating him. This goes back to what I was saying about wins and losses need to matter. Momentum needs to matter. These things need to matter. Or at least tell a story in which the wins and the losses make sense. I would have been fine with him losing if it was pulling of the tights, eye rake, eye gouge, or something like that. Or Austin Theory hit him with a chair, or hit him with a pipe, or something like that. It would have been perfectly fine. But, just having him just plain old get beat just seems silly to me. It just seemed counterintuitive. It's like, so now what does Vince McMahon and Austin Theory talk about next week? Good, you won. Okay, what next? What stupid rule he's gonna have to do next? I don't see the point here. I don't see where we're going either. But whatever. We're too far gone to turn back at this point. The last thing we got is the Alexa Bliss segments, the therapy segments, where they play word association. And essentially everything makes her think of Lily. They're telling us, obviously, that she's brainwashed so deeply that she can only think about Lily. And she only cares about Lily until I think the word imagine is the word that kind of snaps her out of it and upsets her. Look, Bray Wyatt is gone. It's okay to end this shit. You know, it's okay to walk away from this spooky goth girl stuff. Because really, it went off the rails every time he went away. Like, it seemed to have an absolute purpose as long as he was there. All the time that it took for Bray Wyatt to go away, and the more time Alexa Bliss got, the further and further away from this whole ordeal we got. You know, we got Randy Orton versus Alexa Bliss, and she's standing in the ring asking to be set on fire. And then he came back, things were kind of on track again, then he disappeared, and things went off the fucking rails. Then he got fired, and things then really skidded off into a ditch. Alexa Bliss they're not doing a good job of trying to get her back to where she's supposed to be. She can't possibly stay whatever this is forever. It's okay to drop it. You know, we should have been doing Mankind like promos here where she's literally cutting character-based stuff. You know, like if she just cut like this guilty, almost sad like promo where she just says Lily, and he's just saying words. He says like Lily. All I can think of is Lily. Okay. And then we dig deep into why is it that she can only think about Lily or whatever. And we slowly but surely pulling her out of this shit. But obviously there was no plan for any of this. It was all, and she was off TV for like 3 fucking months. And there was no real plan to get her back on television. This is a waste of fucking time right now. You know? And I don't know. I don't get it. And yes, I saw Veer is still coming. He's never going to show up. He's going to show up once, then go back into disappearing just like Xia Li did. WWE does not give a shit about what they're putting on this television. They really don't give a fuck. If they did, they would definitely do better than what they're doing. Like I said, Raw has some good stuff on it. I like the Kevin Owens stuff, Damien Priest stuff, Lashley and Brock stuff. Seth Rollins was okay. Didn't mind the Alpha Academy segment. I think it went a little too long, but other than that, it was fine. You know, that's about it though. No Adam Pearce, no Sonya Deville. You know, interesting. I didn't mind the Becky Lynch segment. You know, Becky Lynch and Doudrop and all them. Didn't mind that. But there was, you know, didn't mind the Vince McMahon Austin Theory stuff. I just felt like some of the execution was off. And it feels like in the past they would have gotten those things far more right than they did now. So it's like, sure, they may have gotten like 75 or 76% of it right. But if it was 20 years ago, they probably would have scored like an 85 or an 86. They were never going to get 100. But it would have been so much better if they'd have booked The Miz and Edge better. If they'd have did better with the Finn Balor and Austin Theory thing. Those things can still be good while not being as good as they could be. And that's the true disappointment. You know, is you see the potential is there for the show to be much better than it is. And it's just not going that way. All right, likes. I need more likes. Hit the like button. Also, comment. Even if you don't have much to say, comment, say something. Even if it's just something. And I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out. Peace and blessings. Have a nice day.